Oh, welcome. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? Welcome. It's very nice to have you here. And I wanted to speak today a little bit about what does it mean to be here? What is really the meaning of that? I'm sure you have heard this phrase, just be here, many times. And what does it really mean? So, of course, we need to begin with the direct experience of presence. Because most of you know already that to know presence directly is very different than what we imagine it to be. Right? When we think about it, when we first, look for it, when we strive to have, the experience of presence, our imagination is so different than what it actually is that we have to have first our very own direct experience of that. And it's very, very simple. You just direct your attention towards the inner. Beautiful. You just take a moment right now. We just direct our attention towards the inner. Beautiful. And here it is, right? Our natural state, presence. So at first, when we come to rest in this, you notice that, your attention doesn't always remain, right? That's why, people say often, well, I had this experience and then I don't have it. We classify it as an experience at first, right? Because we think it's something, it was here and then it isn't here, right? What we don't realize is that really it's our attention that is not at rest, right? That it's our attention that is not resting. So all we need to do is to bring our attention back here, right? Beautiful, beautiful. Just very, very simple. And at first, this is going to go back and forth like that. We know presence, we experience presence, we know, what it is. And then moment later, the contraction of the individual sense of identity comes back. And then we don't know it anymore, right? And so it goes, so it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, many, 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 many times, dependent on what is needed, until eventually, there's this more permanent shift that I call awakening, in which we simply realize, that presence has always been here, that it has always been the ground of all experience. This is the moment when we shift out of this identification with the body and we realize, that presence is really the ground, right? However, regardless, if it's just a moment of presence, right? Or if it's an hour, a day, a month, or a year, right? Or if it's this permanent shift that is the awakening, regardless of that, knowing presence doesn't necessarily mean the end of the arising of the past. And of course, there's always exceptions, so that it's possible that it happens, but with awakening, that past is gone. However, for most of us, that's not the experience, right? You know yourself, regardless of where you are, in this journey, you know yourself that if you know presence directly, doesn't mean past is not going to arise anymore. You also know that even if, there has been an experience of awakening, that is still, past arises here. Right? So when past is present, when you are in life, when you are just going about, whatever is, going about your business, doing inactivity, doing whatever, whatever is in front of you, then when past is present, when that sense of presence is not accessible in the moment, what does it mean to be here? What does it mean to be here? So I always say, to be here means to meet your experience just the way it is arising. To simply bring your attention to your experience the way it is right now. Beautiful. The way it is in this moment. That's why the inquiry that I teach is so sensation-based, because we want to actually, for a moment, bring our attention to what is present on the level of sensation. What is happening right now, right? What is present? And I could go into a lengthy, explanation why sensations, but for now, just, sensation is so much more stable in a moment, so much more reliable for a moment, for the mind to put its attention on, so that we can notice, what is actually here, what's going on right now. Beautiful, beautiful. And the moment you bring your attention here to what is happening, not what we want, not what we desire, not what we imagine, not what we would like, not what was here in the past, not what was here a minute ago, or a year ago, or whenever, right? But what is actually present in the moment. The moment we bring our attention here, presence, right? Or to be more precise, first there is the experience of being present. Here we are, right? We are not somewhere, it's not somewhere. This is often the misunderstanding. We want to be here when past is here, and then we think, well, we have to go somewhere. We have to go somewhere where presence is, right? But presence is here. So the moment you bring your attention here, present, wow, here we are, right? Here we are. That's what's happening. And as we remain for a moment in that recognition, I'm just looking over Ramana's picture, just draws my attention right now. When we remain in that recognition, what happens? When in this moment, right? What happens? Beautiful, beautiful. Presence. Presence is here, right? Natural, simple, always available. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's the meaning of being here. Be here. Notice. Notice what is present. Don't go into the future. Don't go into the past. Don't go into speculation, analysis, remembrance. Let's bring your attention here, very directly, your body, sensation. What is present right now? Lovely, lovely, beautiful.